Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast, your go-to source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We hope you tune in often for all things people management, organizational development and change, organizational leadership, and social impact related. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast. Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this HCI podcast episode, I talk with Leanne Wyvill about why some teams and businesses excel while others expire. Leanne Wyvill, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Thank you, John. It's my pleasure to be here.
And I really appreciate you taking the time to meet. And at such a late hour or early hour, depending on how you look at it, you join us from outside of Queensland, Australia. In Queensland, outside of Brisbane, Australia. And it's 2 a.m. For you at the moment. And I'm all comfortable here in my corner bedroom office at 10 a.m. And so I'm comfortable, and I put you on the spot to be a part of this interview at such a late or early hour for you, but I really appreciate it. Today, we're going to be talking about why some teams and businesses excel while others expire. I know this is something you do a lot of work on in your own consultancy, and we'll explore topics like tuning into your team and communication and team capabilities and other related issues as we go throughout our conversation today. As we get started, I just wanted to share Leanne's bio with everyone. Leanne Wyvill is an experienced corporate communications professional who helps people in business communicate their ideas with confidence. She has worked for iconic Queensland Health and Education Services in the public and private sectors, as well as with numerous startups, small businesses, and not-for-profits. She now runs Presence Communications, a training and services consultancy, which helps teams work better together with tailored business communication skills, training, and insightful True Colors empathy building workshops. She holds a BA with honors in communication practice with distinction and a certificate 4 in training and assessment. She also is a certified True Colors International Facilitator. What a great background, what a great bio. It's truly an honor. And before we dive on into the discussion, anything else about yourself that you would like to share with listeners?
I might share some great news that I've had recently. I'm going to be a grandmother for the second time next May.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
That is exciting.
When my daughter was pregnant the first time and people would congratulate me, I'd be like, why? I'm not having the baby. But it was pointed out to me that if I've lived this long and I have grown a child who could produce a child, then that's an achievement. So I gladly take the congratulations now.
Well, not only that, but also I can only imagine the joy that comes when you're a grandparent. Being a parent is full of joy, but it's also so much hard work. And you know, I've often heard grandparents talk about how being the grandparent is all of the fun without all the work, because your daughter gets to take care of that stuff.
Yes, yeah, no, and it just is something different altogether.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I have 6 children myself. I'm a long way from getting to the point of having grandkids probably, but I do look forward to that day. So, well, that's wonderful. It's good to hear your family is growing and you're going to have an opportunity to extend your love to more people.
Yeah, great, thanks. Yeah, puts me in a good mood.
Excellent. Well, as we get started today, I thought I would just ask generally about your current consultancy business, and some of the types of things you're trying to do. You obviously are doing empathy building workshops and other related types of trainings and assessments. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And then that'll launch us into this topic for today of why some teams and businesses excel while others expire.
Okay, John. I think this year, this strange 2020 that we've been living in, has been a year for discovery of what people are capable of and what skills they have. The discovery, what kind of technical skills people have to suddenly be Zooming or working on Teams. It's also been a discovery time for a lot of my clients to find out, how well their team can get along when they're not breathing the same space. I'm engaged by clients to work with them on their communication with their team. So sometimes that's, it's broad. It's about how do people get along based on personalities, but then it's drills down to skill sets. You've got, when you bring people together, as you would know, when you bring people together, everybody brings something different to the table, different life experiences. And I'm not sure what the situation is in other countries, but in Australia, there seems to be this idea that if someone says on their resume, excellent or exceptional communication skills, you take it at face value and you assume that they have all these skills to interact with other people in the workplace. But quite often they don't. So it's only when this realization that the people that you've employed, you've brought onto your team, don't have those skills, and the cracks start to show. You've probably heard that analogy before about the red sock and the white wash. Trying to work out why is the team not getting along. So I help team leaders and members of that team to understand, what are the drivers, what are the communication breakdowns that are happening based on where people's experiences, people's personalities, and then from that working out, okay, what else is next? Is it a skill? Is it a hard technical skill like business writing? Is it, is there someone in the team who always runs away when it's time to chair a meeting because they lack the confidence? So it's sort of looking at the broader part of working with teams and how well they get along, and then also at a more granular level of what actual skill sets are they missing so that they're not functioning as well as a team. And I like to draw on the work of Alex Pentland with the need to ensure that your team has opportunities to go out and explore and then bring back new ideas, but also to have that free flow of energy and a sense of security and safety within the team to explore new ideas with the team itself.
Yeah. I mean, those are great thoughts, and it sounds like you're doing some good, important work with your business and helping other organizations. And you touched on a few points that I think are really key as you're trying to tune into your team. I think it's really important for us to understand how each other's strengths and stressors boost team cohesion and performance. And I'm wondering what you've seen in your experience working with organizations in Australia and perhaps beyond the borders of Australia, where organizations perhaps aren't doing a good job of understanding each other's strengths and stressors, which ends up actually leading to a lack of cohesion and performance, and what you've done to disrupt that so that they can start to rebuild and create a firmer, more sustainable team.
As I said, I think this year particularly it's come to the fore of what makes a team work and what skills and attributes are needed for a team to work. Recently, I've been working with a team that had to disperse very quickly. They had worked. There were a couple of people who were working remotely, but the whole team suddenly, disappeared, if you like. So not having that same air to breathe, and picking up on the nuances, and suddenly we, this communicating in this one dimension of the, Brady Bunch boxes. We're missing out on tuning into people's non-verbals. You know, we get certain expressions, but we can also misread things. So if someone's leaning like this, it could just be because they're, you know, God, it takes a lot of energy to sit upright and stare at the camera constantly. So if they're leaning on their hand and, you know, seem like they're not paying attention, they're falling asleep, we can misread what that means. And that has limited our ability to communicate effectively and really share that meaning. So what happens is that we start to feel paranoid, or for some managers, they're micromanaging because they can't see their team, and the constant checking in, like, you know, some people checking in 2 or 3, 4 times a day. It's, you know, it's sort of disruptive. And what we've lost is the casual chat. You know, like, can I have a quick chat with you? Every quick chat, you know, for, you know, sort of had become a meeting. You had to, everything was
That's
scheduled.
right.
So there was none of that casualness that was there, none of that sort of free flow of ideas and thoughts. And this one particular team that I've been working with, you know, the focus immediately was on, you know, let's make sure everybody's got the physical stuff, the equipment that they need to work from home, and then let's quickly adapt our services. And there was so much focus on the business, but not the people in the business, that some people were really suffering and not being heard. And when you think about some people in your team, it's good when you've got a variety of people in your team. And if I can use the true colours language, if you've got orange people who are very energetic and they're adventurous, and you're asking them to stay stuck inside a box all day, they're going to become disengaged and look for other things to do. So understanding what are your stresses and what motivates your team, particularly when something like this arises, then you can factor that into all your adjustments, not just the physical business side, the business systems and practices, and certainly, of course, focusing on your customers and your stakeholders, but at the expense of your people, and not listening in. And if you've had that awareness before something happens, then, you know, it's that little voice inside your head reminding you to do that. But if you don't really know what goes on, what makes your people tick, and then they suddenly behave in this different way, whether it's because they're working remotely or some other, you know, something else happens. Sometimes it's like an election. You've got the elections coming up in the States now. Queensland has a state election coming up. I think we're getting more coverage of Trump and Biden than we're actually getting of our own premier at the moment. But even, you know, a change of government can upset a lot of businesses, or the prospect of that. So when you're in tune with your team, when something does happen, you can recover faster than, you know, letting things slide and then suddenly go, why did they leave? You know, why aren't they as productive as they used to be when they were in the office? So these are things that are valuable to have in readiness for something to happen.
Yeah, great ideas. And, you know, the organic check-ins, you know, that would just happen as you're walking by someone's office, and you just you pause for 20 seconds and say hi, and, you know, check in real quick casually, and then, you know, pull someone aside perhaps for a minute. You know, those types of things have gone away. And I think you're absolutely right. Many leaders who are now, they recognize those opportunities are gone, but they still want to have opportunities to check in. They're really struggling to balance with how often do you do that? How do you structure that? And do you end up having to, like, schedule a Zoom meeting for each of these types of opportunities, which becomes clunky and overwhelming? You know, when I look at my calendar, I get up in the morning and I look at my day and I look at my calendar, and I'm like, oh, I got like 7 hours of Zoom meetings. And that's like, that doesn't include all the other work I need to get done. And it seems like this the proliferation of meetings that is happening because of this. Like, everyone's just scheduling meetings. I'm in way more meetings now than I was before. And how many of those meetings actually need to happen? And how many of them are just well-intended leaders or well-intended individuals who just think we should schedule a meeting when an email would work? Or something that I like to try to do with my team is just have like general office hours availability, right? Where where it's understood that I could just like send a quick chat and say, hey, you know, are you available? Can I pop in for a minute? And then you don't have to have something scheduled, but people just know that just like in the office, someone might stop by. Those types of opportunities allow for some organic communication without having you to fill up your day with all these half-hour and hour-long meetings. Oftentimes, you know, you don't need that much time for those anyways, or a simple email can suffice.
Yeah, and the phone. Let's use our phones for something other than, you know, watching cat memes. Um, you know, getting back to, I try and encourage people, get phone call first, because we are, you know, Zoom fatigue is very real. Um, and, you know, for me, because I work from home so much anyway, that I try and make, you know, do the multitasking thing of walk and talk. So when there's a phone call, I can get up and move around. I could even go outside and have that phone conversation. And, you know, that's another thing too, is that when we're moving, we, you know, our brains are more stimulated. There's more things going on than when we are slouched or, you know, stuck to the chair. And our peripheral vision is being trained here instead of out here. So we're missing out on so much that could make us think of more interesting things for the business, to be more creative, to be more innovative, because we're just not getting the same kind of stimulation. And, you know, I think it's about setting those ground rules, as you say, like office hours, setting some ground rules about, you know, when do we use chat from Teams or Slack or whatever program? When do we use that? When do we use email? When is it a phone call? Because something else that I've noticed is happening is that with chat, with that instant messaging, as more and more companies are using that, the language has become more casual. And when you take the chat language that you use internally with your teams, and then use those habits when you're communicating by something more formal like email, it's very casual. We can get the tone wrong. So, you know, hey, and it's quite an American thing to say, hey. Australians are more hi. But, you know, hey, you know, lots of emojis and what do you think instead of what do you think? And that casualness, again, creates opportunities for misinterpretation, because you think, oh, hang on, well, this doesn't seem very serious. It's very casual, so I'll ignore it. And then realizing, oh, well, no, you know, discovering later that it's caused a problem because that person was offended that you didn't get back in time, or that you didn't put the gravitas in the communication, the interaction that was expected. And then also when people are so focused on doing their messaging and neglecting the emails that do come through, those people who are more into structured email communication are feeling ghosted and feeling as though, you know, double checking their computer systems, what's going wrong, simply because I think some bad habits have been allowed to proliferate. You know, they're excusable in the beginning, but we're talking 6 months now, and we really need to get back to having that greater respect for how other people communicate, rather than you know, slapdash, quick, get things done, and ending up with someone else who doesn't operate that way, wondering what's going on and feeling stressed. In fact, there was a report that came out, some research came out this month or late last month from the Journal of Occupational Therapy that was saying that email can have this huge effect on people's mental health. They actually did the research comparing, different types of emails with, how people coped with that. And a rude email can have such greater stress than people often realise. And I know I'm guilty. I've done the thing where I've been cranky and I've been, in a hurry, and I've not really stopped and thought about how is that going to be perceived, because they're not beside me and they don't see my situation. They don't see my facial expressions that I'm being sarcastic or having a laugh. And I've also myself, I have stressed out over emails that I have received, or text messages or chat messages. I've stressed out over them because I'm going, are they, is that what they really think that? Is it? And, worrying and stressing, because sleepless nights, impact on mental health, impact on productivity, impact on team engagement, and all those things can, they add up, they build up, they're cumulative.
They are. And, I think of one of the things you were talking about a few minutes ago was the stresses of a team, right? So if we're thinking even within a physical workspace of the strengths of various team members, how we complement each other, we leverage strengths, we build off of strengths, try to do all of that. That still applies in the virtual world. We just need to be thoughtful about the communication, the tone, the norms, and how we go about doing that, and respecting each other's time and privacy and ability to focus and get work done without micromanaging them. But then it also connects back to those stressors, right? And the various things that might be pulling people in different directions. And I think it's particularly important right now, given how many people are working remotely who haven't before. We've had enough time now to get adapted to the technologies, but that doesn't mean necessarily that our home situation and the stresses involved with that haven't gone away. So, for example, listeners of this podcast will know I've talked about this before, but my wife and I are both working from home. We have 6 young children, all doing school online from home, and so we're juggling everything, and it's hard. It's a challenge, and for the most part, it's going well, and we're managing. But it is a challenge, and it adds an extra level of stress each and every day to what we're trying to do. And that doesn't mean we expect to not have to do our work because we're helping our kids. It just means we need a little bit of acknowledgement, and perhaps some validation at times and a little bit of empathy from people, to recognize that, yeah, this is an abnormal situation. It is challenging, and we're doing the best we can. And as long as we kind of keep that empathy in our tone and our communication, recognizing, you might have people in your teams that are caring for, sick loved ones. Maybe they live with their parents and are taking care of, or they have vulnerable family members who are immunocompromised, or whatever. Like, it adds levels of stress and anxiety, and we just need to be aware of that, and be supportive as supportive as we can.
I think one of the great things is when you know the strengths in your team, you can delegate better, and you can delegate the empathy tasks, if you like. You can still be empathetic yourself as a leader, but you can, if you know your team and you know that you've got people in your team who it matters to them that the team is cohesive. It matters to them that people's feelings are being considered and people's situations at home are being considered. So you can delegate that to the right person in your team who thrives on that, and it's part of their job, not extra. It's part of their job within the team to look after the team. So it's not like the team leader, the manager has to be doing everything for everybody as well as for themselves, but knowing, look, hey, there's, here's this person who loves to socialize. Well, I'm not going to be able to get in touch with everybody in my team every day, but as long as between, Jane and I, we get that done, but, good on for that. And there are people on the team who can become the go-to when there's an IT problem or when there's a connection problem. There's usually someone on the team who's better at all the IT stuff than someone else. And you say, hey, let's split some responsibilities here. And I think the leaders who have been playing to those strengths instead of trying to and playing to those strengths in this unusual situation, rather than expecting everybody to perform in the same way under these, because we don't, when our home lives and our work lives have merged like this, we can't just necessarily cut off and stop. Some people can, but others can't. And having an appreciation of that, and having some strategies in place for dealing with that. And this isn't something we can wing. We can only wing it for so long. We need those structures in place to keep us going, to be that foundation for us, so that we can have that agility, we can be flexible. And because it's what we've been dealing with these past 6 months is not something the last couple of generations have ever had to deal with. And it's new learning for everyone. And when you are welcoming and appreciative of other people's strengths, and you allow them to let them shine in the ways that they like to shine, then that is of benefit to everybody. It's everybody wins.
It does become a win-win type of scenario. We leverage the talents, the skills, the capabilities of each member of our team, and to the benefit of everyone. It just helps everyone move forward. Well, Leanne, it has been a real pleasure talking with you today. The time has flown by. We're almost to the end of our time together. And before we part, though, I did want to give you a chance to share a little bit more with listeners how they can get connected with you, find out more about what you're doing, and let us know if there's anything else coming up for you professionally that you would like to share.
Well, thank you for that opportunity. Something that I've had to learn to do is to translate to transition my face-to-face workshops online. And the great thing about when you are online, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can connect. Now that more people are familiar with doing that, even though we might spend, you back-to-back meetings, 6 or 7 hours in the chair, there are people then who go, but hey, this is great. I can still find time now to do other things. So I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and I welcome people to connect with me. I like to post, share articles and share tips with people on LinkedIn. And I belong to a number of groups. I like to share those sorts of things. I'm not a big one for Facebook, but I connect a little bit on there. And I also have an online course that's available to people who are looking to brush up on their writing skills. It's one of those drill down sort of areas. It's called Trim and Tone Your Writing in 7 Easy Steps. And it's focusing on, for those people who have to do a lot of writing in their job, and find that, they're often receiving criticism for their writing. They can take this online course and do it at their own pace. So that's something else, another sort of way that I've taken made my expertise available to a much wider audience.
Wonderful. Leanne, it has been a real pleasure, and I hope listeners will reach out, get connected, follow you, and find out more about what you're doing, see if there's anything you can do to help them and their organizations. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day, and I hope you all have a great week. We are excited about the launch of HCI's new magazine, Human Capital Leadership. Human Capital Leadership is a free, interactive e-magazine designed to help individuals, leaders, and organizations find innovative approaches to maximize their human capital potential. We will be publishing issues quarterly in August, November, February, and May. Check out the first issue and let us know what you think. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe
and that you have a great week.